critical state. Everybody knows that the eyes of America are going to be on Iowa in January or February, whenever the date is, of 2012. And you all play a critical, and I believe, by the way, an essential role in choosing the President of the United States. But before we ever get to that, we've got an opportunity to begin that job in November in Iowa, and that job number one, is to end the Obama presidency this November. We're not going to wait until 2012. I have to tell you, I feel pretty strongly about this, because I've been doing this for about 34 years. Somebody asked me earlier, you know, Ralph, as I came in, they said, Ralph, I really need to know, how old are you, really? They said you're the Dick Clark of conservative politics. And so you can focus on the charge and the challenge that I want to issue to you tonight. I want to get it out of the way up front. I'm 78 years old. Okay? And if you want to know how you can look this good at my age, it's really very simple. It's clean living. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I exercise daily. I've been married to the same woman for 23 years, and I never, ever watch MSNBC. I get all my news from Fox News. It'll keep you young. But I rolled out of bed the morning after the 2008 elections. And I've got to be honest with you, probably like a lot of you, having devoted my entire adult life to helping to advance the values of faith and family and freedom. To have an individual who, in my view, is the most extreme and radical individual to ever run for President of the United States in either party, win by that big of a margin. Here in Iowa, for example, where I was here with many of you in 2000 and 2004, George W. Bush carried Iowa in 2000 by a very close margin of about 10,000 votes. In 2008, it wasn't even close. Barack Obama carried Iowa by 110,000 votes. And I say that, frankly, to our collective shame. Because the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, that election was like a Harlem Globetrotters basketball game, and we were the team that showed up to get beat. The Obama campaign mobilized 6 million volunteers, 1.5 million of whom worked either full-time or virtually full-time for the last 30 days of that campaign, and made 68 million voter contacts. They had 13 million unique emails, and when you roll in the cell phone numbers that they had to text message, they were contacting a total of 22 million activists, volunteers, and voters on a regular basis by email and text message. And the result was a presidential election that was really over before October 1 even got there. And what's been the result? An apology tour around the world, beginning in Cairo, where the president essentially apologized for America's policies and said that we were no longer a Christian nation. Going to Oslo to accept the Nobel Peace Prize, and again, apologizing for the greatest nation on the face of the earth. The leader of our nation on foreign soil, saying that we were an arrogant and a haughty people. Now, I don't know how many veterans are in this room tonight, but I'm the son of a veteran. A Vietnam veteran, the first POW taken in the Vietnam conflict, was shot down off my father's aircraft carrier, the USS Constellation, at the Gulf of Tonkin in August of 1964. And to have the President of the United States standing on European soil, where on 1,000 battlefields on every continent on the face of the earth, there are white crosses and stars of David that give silent testimony to those who paid the ultimate price and bore the ultimate burden and gave all that any human being can ever give. Not because they wanted to build an empire, not because they wanted to occupy somebody else's country, but because they wanted to experience the same freedom that God intended every single member of the human family to have. I don't know about you, but I don't appreciate that apology, and I don't appreciate the things he said, and I want a president who's going to defend my country instead of criticize it when he goes to other places around the world. I have told you during that campaign that we would be sitting here 13 months after his inaugural, and the federal government would own 80% of the U.S. mortgage market, the largest bank in the United States, the largest insurance company in the world, General Motors and Chrysler, which used to be two of the largest automobile companies in the world, but they've gradually lost market share to either the Japanese or Ford, which turned down the federal bailout money. If I told you that Hugo Chavez would be standing at a Latin American left-wing gathering in Caracas with Fidel Castro, and at a news conference after Obama announced that the federal government was buying General Motors, that Hugo Chavez would turn to Fidel Castro and say, "Comrade Fidel, how did Obama get to our left? I would never even think of taking over an automobile company in my home country." Look it up. If you Google Chavez Obama, there's a June 6, 2009 Reuters story that comes up where Hugo Chavez, not me, says that Obama is to the left of him and Castro. And then there's his health care plan. An attempt to take over 1/6 of our gross domestic product, to raise taxes by $500 billion, to cut Medicare by $500 billion and spend $2.3 trillion over the next decade. Now, the administration claims that we can cover 30 million people who do not today have health insurance, that we can erect a gigantic bureaucracy to do so, and we will actually reduce the federal deficit. And if you believe that, I've got a bridge that I want to sell you in another part of the country. So, anyway, I was pretty down, even before all this happened. And about 3 weeks after the election, I got a call from Sean Hannity, who's a good friend of mine. He actually came out of the Atlanta market, by the way. I knew Sean when he was on Morning Drive in Atlanta radio, before Fox News was even a gleam in Roger Ailes' eye. And he called me up a few weeks after the election and he said, "Ralph, I know that you left the Christian Coalition and you went on and did other things, and I've always been supportive of the other things that you've done. But I'm telling you that if we don't go out and re-energize the grassroots of this country and build a gold-plated, state-of-the-art, lean, mean machine that will turn out the biggest faith-based conservative vote in American history, what just happened on Election Day 08 is going to keep happening, and you and I owe it to our children and grandchildren to make sure that it never happens again."